Hi, my name's Andy. The ordinary office isn't going to have a patron saint, but this sermon is all about Matthias, whom we heard about in that Bible reading. Because if the ordinary office was going to have a patron saint, I reckon Matthias would be a good choice. I mean, a lot of churches do have patron saints. St. John's, St. Mary's, St. Michael's, you know what I mean. One of my favorites is St. Joseph of Cupertino, the flying friar. The more moved Joseph was by God, the higher he flew. When he met the Pope, he was so moved that he levitated at speed into the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and he had to be dislodged from the ceiling by the cleaners using mops. The ordinary office isn't going to have a patron saint. But here are three reasons why Matthias would be a good choice if it was. Number one, Matthias is ordinary. I mean, the clue's in the name of this office. An ordinary disciple who pops up here in Acts 1 and then does nothing else that the Bible finds worthy of recording. But of course, that doesn't mean that Matthias didn't do anything else that matters. Just as the fact that the significant things that you do aren't noticed doesn't mean that they don't matter. Your prayers and your sighs and your struggles and your kindness and your scars are all known to God. Nothing you will ever do with a good heart will be wasted by God. And one day, every bad thing will be forgotten and unmade. And every good thing that is hidden will be brought to light. And we will see the fruit that God has brought from your life and Matthias's. And I reckon that you and Matthias and the rest of us will be staggered to see what God has done through you. An ordinary office isn't going to have a patron saint, but here's a second reason why, if it did, Matthias would be a good choice. Matthias, the name, means the Lord gives, or the Lord is giving. Now, imagine that you're in a culture where names are treated as highly significant, and you're Matthias's mum or dad or carers. Why would you call your baby the Lord is giving? Well, first of all, I imagine because you're so aware that this beautiful little baby is God's gift to you. And second, because you want this child for the rest of his life always to remember that God is a giver and he's going to receive gift after gift after gift from God. You are God's gift. Go on, touch your face, say it out loud. I am God's gift. Others may treat you as if you're not God's gift, but you are. Believe it. And what you have and who you are is God's gift to the world. If Matthias ever doubted that, he only had to think of the way that he got appointed as an apostle. They drew lots. I mean, it's not our usual way of appointing people, but it's probably as good as any of our other methods. A while ago, when I was a vicar, I was one of two candidates to be the team leader of a group of churches. It would be either me or my friend Stephanie. To be honest, I think we were both hoping the other one would do it. And the team seemed like they were pretty happy either way. So we literally flipped a coin. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how I became the lead minister for Southwest Chelmsford Churches. If you think you got to your position, whatever that is, in a less random way, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. If you tell me that you got where you are through your intelligence, I want to remind you that your intelligence comes partly through your DNA, which is random, and partly from your early life experiences. And it's pretty random and certainly not under your control who your parents or carers were and what those experiences are. Or if you tell me you got where you are through your hard work, I want to remind you that your capacity for hard work and industrious temperament are partly genetic, random, in other words, and partly come from the models that you've internalized. You get the point. The Lord is the giver. All things come from God. Of God's own do we give anything at all, and anything an ordinary office is or has or receives is all a gift as well. I imagine Matthias sometimes in apostle meetings getting a sort of imposter syndrome. We all get imposter syndrome at times. I don't deserve to be here, he might have thought. And then he just had to remember his name and the way that he was appointed and say to himself, well, deserve isn't the point, is it? No one deserves any of this. It's all gift and gift and gift and gift and gift and nothing but gift. So here's the last thing. Matthias was filling a gap in the integrity of the church. 12 was a significant number connected to the 12 tribes of Israel. And it was important that on the day of Pentecost, there should be 12 apostles. But there were only 11 of them. They were missing one person because Judas was, in several senses, sadly, lost. Now, I'm not part of the leadership team at an ordinary office, but it seems to me that an ordinary office is exactly filling a gap of integrity in the Church of God. And of course, it's not the only organization doing this. There are other similar brilliant projects. There were parts of the church that haven't understood online inclusion. So pioneers, often disabled Christians, have for years led the way. Then suddenly, in lockdown 1, abled Christians like me discovered that online church is real church. But too many of us have failed to learn from those who have been doing it longer. And too many of us have seen the move online as an exile, a temporary necessity, while we can't get back to physical buildings that will soon be over, and then we can get back to normal. But that's quite wrong. Actually, this is an exodus, a move from being enslaved to stones and bricks to a promised land which we can all reach together. Jesus has been incarnate among us in our interconnected households. And an ordinary office is one of the ways that the Lord who gives is filling that integrity gap for the Church of God. It's not that the other apostles weren't legitimate, it's that there was a gap. It's not that the rest of the Church of God is not owned and loved and fantastic. It's that there is an integrity gap. and somebody needs to fill it. You know, St. Drogo is the patron saint of coffee, gallstones, mutes, shepherds, and the repulsive. An ordinary office isn't going to have a patron saint. But nevertheless, Matthias could remind us of ordinariness, of filling a gap, of randomness, and of everything being gift, 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 gift. Amen.